Adunni was the most beautiful woman anyone had ever seen. But her beauty came with a terrible price. A price that was paid in blood and dark magic. Her skin always seemed to glow, even at night. And her body was perfect in every single way. It made her look somewhat angelic. Her face was so beautiful that people would stop and stare. Sometimes, even shed tears by just looking at her. But if he looked closely, he would notice something strange. She never seemed to get older. She looked exactly the same, year after year. And that was because her beauty wasn't real. She had stolen it. For 10 years, Adunni had been killing men to stay beautiful and powerful. She would marry rich men, then kill them in the most horrible way. But it wasn't just murder, it was something much worse. She would always do the same thing. On nights when the moon was dark, she would draw strange symbols on the floor with special oils. She would light candles in a circle and say words in an old forgotten language. Then, as her husband died, she would put her hands on his chest and suck his soul right out of his body. Every time she did this, she became more beautiful. Her skin would glow brighter. Her body would become more perfect. Her beauty would make people do whatever she wanted. Money came to her easily. Important people wanted to be her friend. Doors opened for her everywhere she went. She had killed 12 men. Emeka was different from all the others. He was only 23 years old and was very, very poor. He worked in a small bookstore that smelled like old books and dust. But when he smiled at her from behind the counter, something happened in her chest. She hasn't felt that in years. When he asked about her favorite book, instead of telling her how beautiful she was, she felt stunned. For months, she told herself it was just another target. She would find a way to make him rich. Maybe help him win some money or get an inheritance. Then she would marry him, do the ritual, and move on like always. But every day she spent with Emeka, every single touch, every real laugh made it harder to lie to her. So love, she realized, was the one thing her dark magic couldn't protect her from. The night she brought him home should have been his last night alive. Everything was ready. The symbols were drawn on the floor, the candles set up in the circle, her ritual knife waiting on the table. Emeka was sleeping next to her, trusting and peaceful. His grandmother's old bracelet caught the candlelight on his wrist. What she had to do was wake him up, make him stand in the center of the circle, say the words that would trap his soul. But when she reached for the knife, her hand wouldn't move. In 10 years of killing, she had never stopped before. But looking at Emeka's sleeping face, she just couldn't do it. "I love you," she whispered in the dark. And the words felt like a confession. She put away all her ritual tools and broke her own spell. But to love, she would learn, was more dangerous and more powerful than any magic she had ever used. For 3 months, Adunni tried to live a normal life. She told herself she was done with the killing, but old habits her had to break. Without fresh souls to keep her beautiful, her stolen looks began to fade. The hunger for more power came back stronger than ever. She tried to fight it. She threw away her knives, burned her magic books, and sealed up her secret room. But the craving hurt like a real pain in her body. Every day, she saw new lines on her face and watched her magic beauty disappear. That's when she met Kelechi at an expensive bar downtown. He was a rich oil company boss, recently divorced, lonely and easy to trick. Everything about him screamed perfect victim. She told herself it would be just one more time, one last killing to get her power back. Then she would find a way to live differently for Emeka. She was taking Kelechi up the stairs to her apartment. his arm around her as she whispered sweet lies in his ear. When she saw him, Emeka stood frozen on the street across from her building. Their eyes met through the window. She watched as he understood what was happening. This wasn't his girlfriend bringing home a friend. This was a hunter taking prey home to kill. Kelechi, drunk and clueless, kept walking up the stairs. But Adunni couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She couldn't look away from Emeka's broken face. Adunni? Kelechi called from upstairs. Are you coming? When she looks back, Emeka was gone. She sent Kelechi away, making up an excuse about feeling sick. But it was too late. The damage was done. The next morning, Emeka came back, not as a lover, but as someone who wanted answer. He pushed past her into the apartment. His face was hard and cold. I've been thinking all night, he said, his voice steady but angry. About you, about us, about all the things that never made sense. He walked through our perfect living room like a detective looking for clues. You never talked about your past. You have no photos, you don't have friends, you don't have family. Your apartment is perfect but empty like a movie set. And yesterday was nothing, she said, panicking. I can explain. The man you brought here, who was he? A friend, just a friend. Emeka wasn't listening anymore. He had found a crack in the wall where she had quickly hidden her ritual room. His finger found the outline of the secret door. What's behind here, Adunni? Nothing, just storage. He pushed against the wall, and the poorly hidden panel fell open. The smell hit him first. Old incense and dried blood, death and evil magic. Then he saw the altar, still stained even though she had tried to clean it. The strange symbols carved into the floor, the collection of wedding rings lined up like prizes on the shelf. But what hurt him most were the photographs, dozens of them showing her exact same face over many decades. Wedding photos with different men, all of them looking happy and trusting and alive. Men who were now nothing but memories and stolen power. Oh my God, he said quietly. You're not human. She stood behind him in the doorway, tears running down her face. I was going to choose differently for you. I was going to stop. I tried to stop. He turned to look at her and saw her own evil reflected in his eyes. Those men, you feed on them. You are some kind of monster. I am what I choose to become, she said, reaching desperately. But I chose differently for you. I chose love. Stay away from me. His voice cracked with disgust and fear. I never want to see you again. He left that night, and for days Adunni waited for him to come back. But without her regular rituals, without fresh souls to feed on, she began to change. Her perfect skin started to look dull. Lines appeared under her eyes. Her supernatural beauty began to fade, and with it, her power began to fade. When she saw Emeka with another woman, a plain normal girl who could love him without having 12 murders on her soul, something broke inside Adunni. Something broke completely. She followed him home on the night with no moon, her ritual knife hidden in her coat. She couldn't have his love. She would have his life. If she couldn't keep him willingly, she would trap his soul forever. I gave you everything, she said, stepping out of the shadows of his apartment. I chose you over my power, over my beauty, my very nature. Emeka's face went pale when he saw the knife in her hands. Adunni, don't do this. You make me weak, she continued, her beautiful face twisted with anger and heartbreak. But I can fix that. Your soul will make me stronger than ever. She jumped at him with inhuman speed, aiming the knife at his heart. But instead of hitting flesh, she hit an invisible wall that drew her across the room. Emeka's grandmother's bracelet blazed with pure white light. Ancient protective symbols spun in the air, surrounding him like a shield. What is this? She screamed, getting back to her feet. My grandmother said it was blessed by our pastor. Emeka whispered in amazement. She said it would protect me from evil. The light burned Adunni's corrupted flesh, but rage pushed her forward. She attacked again and again, but each time hitting stronger resistance. The protective magic crashed against her dark powers in bright light that lit up the night. On her final try, she poured every bit of stolen life force into the attack, determined to break through his defenses. The collision of opposing magics created an explosion of light and darkness that broke windows and split the air itself. When everything settled, Adunni lay broken on the floor, but it wasn't just her body that was destroyed, it was her mind. The backlash of her own evil, turned back on itself, had undone every spell she had ever cast. 10 years of stolen souls came flooding back into her head at once, each one screaming for justice. Her beautiful ageless face began to age rapidly as her stolen years caught up with her. Her perfect skin wrinkled and cracked, her shining hair turned grey, then white, and they began to fall out in chunks. In minutes, she went from supernatural beauty to something ancient and horrible. But worse than the physical change was what happened to her mind. Every soul she had eaten was now free inside her head. They wanted revenge. She began to laugh and then screamed. Then she started talking nonsense. Dead men spoke through her lips. Chinedu Oku married June 12, soul taking June 15th. Under the blood moon, she said in a voice that wasn't her own. Tunde Adebayo married September 13th. Life was drained in a ritual cycle of binding. The confessions poured out of her in different voices and languages, the words of her victim mixing with her own. She described every ritual in perfect detail, the symbols, the words, the moment each soul was ripped from its body and absorbed into her own. Emeka called for help, but when the police arrived, they found a woman who looked like she belonged in a horror movie, babbling about dark magic and soul stealing. Sometimes she was clear enough to confess her crimes perfectly. Other times she would speak as if she were one of her victims begging for mercy from herself. They locked her away in the place where screaming was just another sound in the night. The doctor said it was a complete mental breakdown, but the nurses whispered about other things, about how her reflection sometimes showed different faces, about how she aged backward and forward like time itself couldn't decide what to do with her, about how she performed elaborated rituals with imaginary tools on the floor.